What's up guys, it's Lord Both here for another video, and a game on the Steam sales library has been pulled from sale. You can no longer buy it at all anymore. Those who have it, but that's it. The game in question is called No Mercy, and it was pulled from sale because of the nature of its very horrific graphic content. Now, I've had a pretty clear stance when it comes to games being banned in countries or pulled from sale. I don't believe in it. But I also recognize that there are certain laws for certain other countries, and if games are banned in those countries for violating a certain law, then there's really nothing I, as an American citizen, can really do about it. It sucks, and I don't think it's right, but in certain instances, I can even understand it. When that Al-Aqsa Warrior game controversy was happening or whatever, about a game that had you playing as a certain kind of fighter in a certain kind of organization in the Middle East that seemed very, very similar to a real group that was thought to be carrying out certain politically violent activities, and that was considered bad by the UK and against their laws, and they banned it. I said I didn't think it's right, but I also understand. And I have kind of the same reaction here when it comes to No Mercy. I don't think a game should be banned by a country. I think the free market should decide. That said, when multiple countries ban your game, when a political activist group rails heavily against your game, and I think when you, the audience, read what I'm about to tell you is in the game, you're going to be like, okay, I understand why that one was banned. This comes to us from PC Gamer, entitled Developer of Non-Consensual SEX Game withdraws it from Steam after it's banned in the UK, Canada, and Australia. Quote, "We don't intend to fight the whole world." So even the developers know that there's major pushback across the world against their game. And that's why, as the headline says here, the game was withdrawn by the developers. It wasn't banned by Steam, and Steam didn't take it off the library. The developers were the ones that actually pulled it from the shelves. Now, what made the game so bad that it was banned in all three of those countries? Well, as the article states here, No Mercy included, let's just call it the cest, blackmail, that's whatever, and, quote, unavoidable non-consensual sex, also known as grape. According to its Steam page, which also promised players the opportunity to become, quote, every woman's worst nightmare, and never take no for an answer. No Mercy was removed from sale in Canada and Australia, and on Thursday, the developer announced it would pull the game from Steam entirely, although it defended the content as harmless. Yes, feeding into violent sex fantasies, yeah, that's totally harmless. Yeah, there's no way that could ever go wrong. There's no way anybody could ever possibly perceive that there's something wrong with this game or that it might lead to horrific real-life situations. No, totally not. We don't intend to fight the whole world, and specifically, we don't want to cause any problems for Steam and Valve. Zerat Games said that in a statement posted to No Mercy's Steam page. The page is no longer accessible, though users who previously purchased the game still have access. Since it began allowing adult games on Steam in 2018, Valve has curated the category with an extremely light touch, saying initially that it would only remove games that contained illegal content or were trolling. To be honest, I don't even think Steam does that anymore. There's a little game called Ember with an 8 in it, which I would definitely consider trolling, even though I think the trolling is funny. And illegal content, I mean, this feels like it would encompass illegal content. However, again, Steam didn't even remove the game. The game was removed by the developers. So any rational person would probably read that and be like, okay, I get it. You have a game in which they promise you could become any woman's nightmare and engage in some pretty horrific kinds of activities, and apparently it was so egregious and so in your face about it that it was banned in 3 different countries. The point being, you ban it in one country, okay, maybe they just have particularly stringent laws. You ban it in 2 countries, all right, that's a bit of a red flag. It's getting banned in 3 countries, 3 major market countries, by the way. All right, something might be up here. But this hasn't stopped some in the crowd from going, censorship! It's censorship! Of course, one of these people crying censorship is Endymion. Now, in the past, I've agreed with Endymion on a lot of stuff. But in the past year, his anti-woke content and takes have just been, they've become extreme. And his level of research has gotten worse and worse. He made a video about this whole situation in which he said, Steam just opened Pandora's box with No Mercy, a visual novel game that has been targeted by activists to be removed. Yeah, he keeps going on a tangent in this video about women in games, an activist group that particularly came after this game. I'm just going to stop there and say that, there are these rare occasions where activist groups, while they get things wrong a lot, sometimes they're right about certain things. Code Pink is a political activist group. They're highly feminist. They believe in a lot of stuff that I don't believe in. However, they were one of the prominent groups protesting the Iraq and Afghan wars back when it wasn't popular to do such things. And I, coming from a conservative household that was against the Iraq and Afghan wars, actually appreciated them as a liberal group being so outspoken about it. And I think a lot of people, I would in fact say the majority, look back on those wars and understand that that was the right stance to take. That said, doesn't mean they're right about all that other stuff. He also says in his post along with his video, while I am not defending the game's content in this video, I am defending the implications of these activist demands. Yeah, and here's the problem. The whole video is predicated on this idea that Steam pulled the game and they bent to the will of these demanding activists, women in games. The problem is, it wasn't just women in games that were against this game. It was 3 countries' governments. It was banned in 3 major markets. And need I remind you, Steam didn't pull this game. The developers pulled this game after they were banned in 3 major markets, probably knowing they were going to get banned in more major markets. So Steam, they didn't do anything here. Steam had the game up. The developers are the ones that took it down. If anything, the developers were the ones that bowed to the will of activists. So if you want to come after anybody, come after them. But to be honest, I don't think it's that they're bowing to the will of activists. What they're doing is reading the writing on the walls, which is that countries aren't down with the content they put in their game, and they're going to continue to ban the game. He also makes a follow-up reply here. I'm not going to read all of it to you. You can go see it on Twitter X. But the first paragraph states, to anyone thinking I'm defending the game, you didn't watch the video clearly. I don't defend the actions of the game itself anywhere in the video. Yeah, but you do a little bit. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. The video is all about corporations not bending the knee to activists. Again, if he did 2 seconds of research, he would have known that it wasn't Valve, it wasn't Steam that pulled the game. It was the developers. So what is he talking about? He also states, and he talked about this in his video at length, and yes, I did watch the video, but he states here, I don't think any game should be banned. As I make the claim in the video, Silent Hill 2 is all about abuse, violence against women. It's core to the game's story and content, yet is still available to buy. This game isn't. That's because the nature of the 2 games are completely different. By the way, I agree with you. I don't think games should be banned. But guess what? Under some countries' laws, they are banned. And in some certain cases, I understand why they're banned. Now let's take a dive into that whole, Silent 2 is all about violence against women too. So why does it get to stay up? I'll tell you why. Simply, Silent Hill 2 is about the trauma of past violence. And everything in the game is a manifestation of that trauma. It is a horror game in which you are supposed to be horrified and mortified once you learn the story as it progresses. You're supposed to find these acts appalling and moralistically evil. It's a game that should make you feel kind of gross once you get to know all of the story behind the game. It's a game designed to elicit fear and sorrow as you come to understand the actions taken in the past against the main female character. In contrast, this game promises players the opportunity to become every woman's worst nightmare and never take no for an answer. You see how the context is a little bit different there in Endymion? One which is designed to elicit negative feelings when you understand the horrific things that has happened to a person that you should care about, and another that's designed to elicit joy and revelry in committing violent, horrific actions against someone while they're vulnerable and you're in a position of power. You see how those two things are completely different? By the way, in his video near the end, he called this like a 50 Shades of Grey like video game, a fantasy, and I don't think he understands like women. And he clearly doesn't have a lot of women in his life, because I've had women in my life that force me to understand 50 Shades of Grey and have told me the plot of 50 Shades of Grey and all the stuff happening to it. I refuse to actually read it or go see the movies or anything like that. But I have had plot and lore dumped on me. And I can confidently say, none of this stuff that I have highlighted here is in 50 Shades of Grey. This is not what that story is supposed to be about. It is funny though to see Endymion, a guy who hated Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 so much that he railed against the evils of the game, even going so far to spread information that it apparently had underage you-know-what going on in it, because he didn't understand that the characters, all from history, had been aged up. And he just made video after video and live stream after live stream hating on it, and post after post hating on it, talking about how terrible it was and how immoral and DEI it was. Meanwhile, he's over here talking about this grape game, saying, it's kind of in the same boat as Silent Hill 2 and 50 Shades of Grey, guys. Finally, in his video, he leaves us with a question. He basically asks us who should decide which games should be pulled from Steam or not. And I think the answer is pretty obvious. Steam and the developers. That's it. And guess what? Steam, again, didn't make the decision to pull this game. The developers did. So one of those two people made this decision. And again, they made it after they were banned in 3 major markets. There was a lot of negative sentiment going on about it. They were probably going to get banned in more markets. And so they made the decision to pull it. This is one of those times where it doesn't have to deal with censorship or activists. It has to deal with the fact that they made a game that was pretty terrible in terms of what you could do content-wise in it, was very up and in your face about it, to the point where not just activist groups, but governments, and quite honestly, I think any person who reads what you can do in this game, despite the fact that it is an 18-up game and considered a prawn game, thought, wow, that's really bad. And then it started getting banned, and they've come to the realization, hey, nobody really wants our game around, and this is causing a lot of strife, so why don't we just pull it? My guess is they didn't put a ton of actual development and cost into this game. Because if this one screenshot that's shown here in the PC Gamer article, which is probably the only safe screenshot they have, is any indication at the levels of cost and time of development put into this game, I don't think it was much. Looks like every other generic prawn game you see on Steam. But I get it, man. I get the urge for fear merchants to come out here and be like, this is going to lead to censorship in gaming and Steam taking out games. What happens when they just disagree with games politically? But this ain't that, Chief. This was just a game with terrible stuff in it that promoted the ideas of doing quite horrific things. And while, again, I don't even think it should have been banned or the developers should have pulled it or whatever, I understand why they did. And I understand the negative sentiment around this. If they created a game called Trump Simulator 2025 and you went around holding rallies like you were President Trump, and then that game got banned out of nowhere or pulled by Steam, then I would say, yeah, you got a case there. Seems political to me. But this, it's not a conspiracy or politics or anything like that. This isn't part of the woke left agenda or a greater conspiracy to try to censor gaming. It's just something I think we, all as a society, said, this is bad. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it. And we'll talk to you again later.